Tuesday.
Oh my goodness, it's Tuesday already. It's Tuesday here at the Daily Caller. We're here live on Facebook, obviously, and we're asking once again for you to engage with us as we talk about what's going on in the election. And the election hasn't slowed down at all, Alex Pappas.
It hasn't.
Because today we know that Paul Ryan has completely abandoned Donald Trump now. He just can't take him anymore. He's not going to be supporting him, not going to be campaigning with him, and wants to sort of get out of this race. I don't know what you can do. If you're the Speaker of the House and a Republican, it's pretty hard to hide, but that's what seems like Paul Ryan's trying to do now.
It pretty much sounds like Paul Ryan's conceding the election to Hillary Clinton already, which has a lot of Republicans on the Hill not so happy with them. So he does this conference call with a bunch of the House members yesterday saying, I'm not going to defend Donald Trump, which is actually kind of funny because when has Paul Ryan actually ever defended Donald Trump?
Yeah, but, it was like pulling teeth to get him to show up for Donald Trump in the first place.
I know, after he had disinvited Trump from the event in Wisconsin this weekend after that video came out. But his point was, at these press conferences, I'm not going to be there as a supporter of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
My whole goal now is just going to make sure that we have a majority in the House. Implication being, because when Hillary Clinton is president, we need to be a check on Hillary Clinton.
You can see behind me, I've got Donald Trump, obviously, has issued a tweet storm on this, and tweet storms are, Donald Trump's ways, one of his ways of communicating, as he talked about in the debate. He said, despite winning the second debate in a landslide, every poll, it is hard to do well when Paul Ryan and others give zero support. So that's Donald Trump's reaction to it. And Donald Trump also mentioned that what you just talked about, which is this, that Paul Ryan, he said, our very weak and ineffective leader, Paul Ryan, had a very bad conference call with his members, went wild at his disloyalty.
Right. I'm going to be really interested to see how many of these House conservatives are just going to blow up at Paul Ryan. I mean, the sort of thing where we saw those conservatives try to push Boehner out. I mean, there's going to be a lot of anger here. I mean, those conservatives that are in the House that like Donald Trump and actually still think there's a chance that Republicans can win don't necessarily like the fact that the leader of House Republicans right now is saying this election's pretty much over and I'm not even going to do anything to help Donald Trump, because this doesn't help Trump at all. And Trump keeps making the point, well, we saw the drama that Democrats had with Bernie Sanders, but they're now all coming around to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton isn't having this sort of backlash from members of her own party.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if this race was over, but if anything, it's not. I mean, the amazing thing was, going into the debate this weekend, everyone sort of viewed it like this is going to be a eulogy for Donald Trump, meaning the conventional take from the press was that this was going to be Donald Trump's eulogy. And instead, he leapt out of the coffin, and he was dancing at the funeral. And people were like, what is going on? He had such a performance on that stage. And by the way, maybe this is just the effect of hardening opinions of Hillary Clinton, but there are more and more secrets coming out about the Hillary Clinton campaign as we speak. I literally, Pappas, I had to pull him away. We have dozens of reporters here at the Daily Caller who are digging through Hillary Clinton's staff emails that have been released by WikiLeaks now to present hundreds of storylines about what's going on inside the Clinton campaign, including like rampant coordination with journalists. In fact, we have a reporter right now, Alex Pfeiffer, is putting together a huge list of all of the journalists who have been working closely with the Clinton campaign and sucking up to them as this has gone on. Yet, for whatever reason, people like Paul Ryan are thinking in their heads, well, this election's probably over. I'm just going to take away my support for Donald Trump.
And I think, once again, the email thing you just mentioned, with emails coming out showing these journalists that are essentially sucking up to Clinton's campaign.
Yeah, big time.
Paul Ryan backing away from Trump actually kind of feeds into Trump's message, which is that the elites are doing everything they can to push him down and go ahead and just anoint Hillary Clinton the winner.
Totally.
So you have all these examples of reporters that are emailing John Podesta, sucking up in ways that they would never send emails like that to Corey Lewandowski or to Paul Manafort or whoever was chairman at the time that they would be sending these emails. And then you have Paul Ryan, somebody that clearly is not a Donald Trump sort of Republican. Donald Trump can say, listen, it's the elites, whether it's the elites of my own party, the elites of the Democratic Party, or the elites of the media that are doing everything they can to stop you, the regular working people here in America, from getting what you want. If Trump plays this, I think, rightly, and maybe he will, he could actually, I think, use this to his advantage.
So people like, I think, Paul Ryan here, and also the press at large, I think they often underestimate the extent to which when they say stuff like Donald Trump sucks, that it just gets so many people riled up. They're like, I hate you and what you stand for.
Exactly.
I don't think that you're honest with me. I think Donald Trump is, and I think you're lying, and I think you're out to get him. And the counter reaction that exists for people that are attacking Trump is so strong. How many times have you spoken with Trump supporters who are like, why does it feel like the press is always attacking him, that he can never get a fair shake? that what really happened is never gets to my ears. That some sort of distorted version that makes Donald Trump look horrible always does. And I see you on Facebook right now. By the way, the deplorable people who are saying they're deplorables from around the country. That's my question for you. First of all, I know the answer to this question. Do you think Donald Trump gets a fair shake in the press? But how often, when you hear someone tell you you're not allowed to support the guy, does that just harden your resolve? That you're like, you know what? Screw you. That's what I want to support. I don't like you. In fact, I might not even like Donald that much, but I like you a lot less. So as a result, I'm going to support him.
Well, we're getting lots of comments, so many it's actually hard to even keep up with them and read them because they keep scrolling down. Not a lot of favoritism towards Paul Ryan at this point.
Right.
A lot of people saying, Les says Ryan failed the test. Daniel says the press is liberal. Charles says Ryan needs to think more about Americans. Alfred says Paul doesn't care about our country. So people here today are not so happy with Paul Ryan.
Do you remember when Donald Trump was initially trying to court Paul Ryan and to get his support? There was this notion that Paul Ryan was going to get some sort of concessions out of Trump, whether it be in terms of policy or specifically in terms of temperament. Like, I want you to behave a certain way, and then you'll have my support. So now Donald Trump, and you may have mentioned this, but I want to reference a tweet. This is a big one, and this is the one we referenced in the Facebook comment, which is, it is so nice that the shackles have been taken off me, and I can now fight for America the way I want to. Which is, I think it's illuminating. It's not just like he's taking more shots at Paul Ryan. He's declaring specifically, Paul Ryan asked me to do something a certain way, and I played by those rules because I was like, you know what? I'd like your support. But now that you've abandoned me, the deal's off, man. I'm going to act the way I want to act, and I'm not going to do what Paul Ryan has asked me to do. Because guess what? Turns out Republicans like me a lot more than they like you right now.
I think this is so interesting. I want to know examples from Donald Trump. What are times that he wanted to do something but felt he had the shackles on because establishment Republicans were saying that's not the way to do it? I wonder if maybe what we saw at that debate when he had the press conference or the press event with the Bill Clinton accusers just an hour or so before the debate, if that's an example of him doing things the way Donald Trump wants to do it as opposed to the way that probably the RNC would want him to do it. I imagine if he's on the phone with the congressional leadership and Reince Priebus and Paul Ryan and said, I'm thinking about doing this with the Clinton accusers, they would probably say, no, no, no.
Right.
You need to talk about other things. You don't need to do this. And Trump says, you know what? I'm going to do it my way.
Well, he's flipped so much on his head. We heard reports that the Presidential Debate Commission was worried that Trump was going to try and put the women inside the VIP box.
How about that?
And there were real battles over that. So the notion Trump is literally table flipping at this point. I mean, to the point that no one, especially in sort of elite circles where everyone acts a certain way and everyone says a certain thing, and you sort of are always able to gain entry because you speak the right language. Trump's not doing that, and as a result, you're seeing a real revolt among elites, even like guys like Paul Ryan, who probably doesn't even want to consider himself an elite. But guess what? You're the Speaker of the House, and he's responsible for a lot of things, including guiding, say, the RNC and all sorts of things. But Donald Trump's the nominee.
Listen, what happens, candidates play it safe when the race is so close that they're scared of making any sort of mistake that could make them lose. When you start to act like this, when you feel liberated to do what you really want to do, is when you realize, 30 days or however far we out ahead of the election, that you're going to have to change something. I mean, Donald Trump knows right now that the election was held today, that it's going to be an uphill battle for him.
Totally.
So now he's saying, you know what, screw all these people that are telling me to do it this way. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to throw everything up against the wall. So I think that's going to make the next however many days really, really interesting.
Totally. He succeeded definitely in the primary on the strength of acting on his own judgment. Clearly, he's needed advice. I think he took advice well going into this last debate, mentioning things like the architect of Obamacare, Jonathan Gruber. Things like that struck me as like, hey, Donald Trump not only did debate prep, he had some outside help suggesting things he should do. And it sounds to me like the current campaign team that he has, whatever drama might exist in any campaign environment, seems to be the one that's giving him so far, making him the most comfortable so far in terms of how he's campaigning. People like Kellyanne Conway and Steve Bannon, some suggestion that Roger Ailes has been advising him. This notion that there's a group of people around him to whom he's actually listening, because the Trump we saw on stage this weekend was a little different. I want to mention something you and I talked about yesterday, which is hilarious. So we wake up in St. Louis yesterday, and having just covered the debate, and the newspaper at the hotel is the USA Today.
Yeah.
And I see Pappas and I meet for coffee in the morning, and Pappas holds up the newspaper and says, "Can you believe this?" And what did you see on the front page of USA Today?
Oh, well, it's hilarious. It was they described a very different debate than the one that I saw.
Yes.
The whole debate was, and I wish I memorized the headline, but essentially first Trump was childish and Hillary Clinton was the adult.
Right.
And then they said that Trump essentially refused to apologize for that video, which I don't know about you, and we can go back and look at the transcript, but I remember him actually saying the words, "I apologize to my family, I apologize to the country," like 100 times
Right.
during the debate. Essentially what they're saying, though, is that he didn't apologize the way they wanted him to, which
Yes.
was to break down and spend the whole time saying...
Right. He didn't like quit the presidential race on stage as an act of contrition.
Yeah.
He didn't commit Harry Carey. He didn't, take the whip and just start hitting himself. He didn't like get on his knees before Hillary and beg for forgiveness. I don't understand what you want if he apologized. And by the way, this is a news story that was written. It wasn't like the editorial page. This was a news story in USA Today.
Like, here are the facts. Did Donald Trump say the words, "I'm sorry"? Yes, he did.
Totally.
So then how do you write a news story saying Donald Trump didn't take the advice of those who said he needed to show remorse?
It was pretty amazing. Actually, he did, and strategically, he did the right thing. We talked for 2 weeks about Trump, what Trump failed to do in the first debate, and what Mike Pence succeeded in doing in his debate was pivoting. Basically saying,
exactly.
okay, I'm going to take this issue, and I'm going to turn to an issue that I care about sincerely. I'm going to go on offense against Hillary, and boy, did he ever. Now, granted, when he was apologizing for the video, he kept bringing ISIS up. It didn't seem to make any sense. It was like there's a lot of incoherence.
Yes.
But he did actually have a lot of successful attacks on Hillary Clinton, to the point that I just thought, how many conservatives are there? How many people like you are like just watching this and thinking to yourself, finally, somebody said the things about Hillary Clinton that I've been waiting for any candidate of any stripe to say on a national stage, and Trump did.
It just really makes you wonder, had that video not come out on Friday and really overshadowed everything, how
Yeah.
different things may have been had Trump had that
For sure.
performance, been able to go on the offense, put Hillary Clinton. I think you would have had a lot more people probably saying Trump had won that debate, where
That's
you had
true.
a lot of people that were not willing to say it because he was on defensive at the very beginning as a result of that tape.
Yeah, that he's such a contemptible figure. I can't even say that he's allowed to win. By the way, it was hilarious because Hillary attacked him as soulless and during the debate, and at the very last question, she's like, "Oh, by the way, he's a great father," I think, which says a lot about Donald. What? You just spent the whole debate saying he sucks, and that he's like a demon, and then you're like, he's a great father. What does that suggest? Something about what, his moral character? But
It is
good
funny,
job,
though,
Hillary.
for those questions, which candidates always get, which is say something positive about
Yes.
your opponent.
Stop
you,
fighting.
You always go for it's the response that always you always say, "Oh, well,
It's
I
like-
like their family." But Donald Trump actually couldn't really say that in this case, considering he just prosecuted Bill Clinton for everything that he was saying about Bill Clinton.
Yes.
That I was actually kind of wondering. I was like, what is Trump going to say? Because he can't be like, "Well, Hillary,
You got a great husband."
You've got a great husband," because he wasn't going to be able to say it. So how Trump would have it been if he'd been like, "I just want to say I've always been a big fan of Bill Clinton."
Yes.
It would have.
I want to say, very, very nice wedding gifts. Great wedding
Great
gifts.
wedding
I had a
gifts.
great wedding gift from the Clintons. Thank you.
Personally, I love Bill
Personally. I mean, yes, he slept with a lot of women. A lot.
a lot.
All right. A lot more coming up. What I would suggest to you is that if you have any time in your day to carve out just an hour to consume the news, it should be spent with the Daily Caller, especially today, and here's why. These WikiLeaks emails that have come out today have only begun to be sort of realized of what's within them, and I have a newsroom literally 6 feet away from me right now, filled with reporters who are hungrily digging through these things. They're all skipping lunch because they want to get out the news about what's inside these WikiLeaks emails sent by Clinton campaign staffers. Incredible stuff. Literally, as I was closing the door, I found out more crap talking about Chelsea Clinton. They're upset that she keeps running to daddy. Amazing stuff. Stick around. Check out dailycaller.com. And thanks for watching us on Facebook. We'll be back tomorrow. A lot more to go as this election winds down. It's definitely not over yet. Thanks,
Awesome.
Alex.
Have a good day.